Okay, be nice to me because I know my hair is a wreck. I had to do my Boys Love filming with Mason and my hair was bad, and so I threw this hair on and it looks a fucking sight, but it is what it is. I'm here to talk about when manufactured drama trends, and this has everything and anything to do with the Jeffree Star is over apologize to Chori from Luna bullshit. I'm just so hurt, honestly. And I'm not hurt like, oh, you've hurt my feelings. I just hate that anybody from Luna's being picked on. No, I'm just so hurt that this is where K pop is landing on the timeline. Like, that is what I'm upset about. I'm upset that it seems like over and over again, K-pop is getting known for some bullshit. Like, we got past the whole, oh, we're helping with ruining the White Lives Matter trending topic, and we're helping to thwart the Trump rally, and we're really talking about social justice and stuff, but now we're back to our same antics, and it's the same. I hate fan cams. I hate K-pop fans. Y'all trend bullshit. And this one really upset me because I knew it was fake from the very beginning. Like, it just did not seem real. First of all, I don't think that anybody from Luna has their own YouTube channel where they would be allowed to say spicy things like Jeffree Star looks like Skeletor. So already from jump, there's no fucking way that that could even be a real screenshot and caption from anything having to do with Luna, because their company is super controlling over what content gets put out for those girls. Secondly, Jeffree Star's not talking to anybody about anything other than these lip liners because he is a coward and is conniving and is trying to figure out his next way to get back into the public eye and try to turn the narrative around on him. So for somebody to not only do that, but then try to screenshot and make it seem like Jeffree Star was saying something negative in the comment section of a Luna video, it's like, first of all, there's too much fake news on the Twitter platform as it is. Don't add to that drama. Secondly, when the people who did believe it find out it was fake, again, it's fuck you K-pop hours all day, every day for several weeks, possibly years on end. And it's one of those deals where we're not a monolith. If somebody says I am a fan of K-pop, that doesn't mean I am a fan of every single person that comes out that happens to be a part of the K-pop landscape, and everything they do I'm supportive of. It just means, like, I tend to like a lot of music from this arena. And so, like, I'm a K-pop fan, but like, if you ask me what's your favorite the boys song, or what is your favorite Cherry Bullet song, I wouldn't have an answer for you because I just don't know the discography. So we're not a monolith. We're a lot of different things. And so when I tell somebody I like K-pop and the last thing they remember from K-pop is a bunch of bullshit behind some fake drama created by Orbits, it does me no good. It does you no good. It makes people not take Luna seriously. This reminds me very much of when Stan Luna was super trending and Orbits were like, oh, this is going to be so good for us. It's getting the visibility out. It's going to make people pay attention to the group. It's going to translate into money. And it didn't. It didn't. It got a couple of people interested. It got Grimes on a video. It got a couple people, saying the meme. But at the end of the day, obviously the sales weren't enough to sustain multiple comebacks or anything else. You still had the company getting sued because they weren't fulfilling contracts, and the guy who was their kind of concept director left, and things have still been not great for Luna as a group. So no, Stan Luna did not do what you guys thought it was going to do. And now you have this. And again, it'd be one thing if people say, oh, this is Orbit behavior, but the majority of people don't even know what the fuck an Orbit is. The majority of people only know Stan Luna as a meme, and the majority of people only know the word K-pop as an annoyance. So this is counterproductive to every positive thing that we're trying to get done out there. It's counterproductive to all of the good things that people have been trying to do in the name of K-pop, and you're making an ass out of yourself, and you're making people discredit you as being serious about the artistry. No one's talking about the artistry of Luna. No one's talking about their uniqueness of their concepts. No one's talking about how good their dancing is and their choreography. People are invested in the mess that is the Luna fandom, and I personally don't have time for it, and I don't want to be a part of it, and I'd ask to be politely taken out of this narrative. But again, this just is how it is nowadays when it comes to social media, and it's fucking exhausting. I don't know if you guys are aware, but addiction is not just labeled to cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, food, sex. Addiction is just anything that is an unhealthy abundance that you partake in and that you find yourself not having control over. And I really feel like there are a couple of different addictions at play when shit like this happens. And I don't know, like, therapy wise, terminology wise, what those addictions are, but there's got to be some kind of addiction / compulsion that's involved with the way that people are obsessed with trending, obsessed with being seen, obsessed with creating drama, obsessed with being visible on social. And I think it has a lot to do with being invisible in real life. I feel like a lot of the people who are the main shit stirrers behind drama online are in the shadows, and they aren't big and bad in their real life. And so the internet is their time to shine. The internet is their time to be, a cowboy, or their time to be a superhero. And we've got to find out what that is, because people are not just doing this online, they're taking it into real life so that they can be notorious online. The recent trend of like Karen videos. Some of the Karen videos definitely are people who have been attacked by women who have been unreasonable and irrational and displayed extremely dangerous and disturbing behavior in public. But then you have the Karens filming their own videos, and they're out here yelling at grocery store employees, or yelling at Starbucks employees, or yelling at anybody else, and then putting it on their Facebook to try to get some kind of allegiance from this population that they think that they're a part of, that is the real enlightened population. And again, this social media validation. Now it's not just enough to spread your QAnon rumors online. It's not enough to have your little in-jokes and everything else. Now you've got to go in the public and terrorize other people in order to make a statement online, in order to get some kind of 15 seconds of fame. And if we don't find out what the root cause is, there are going to be people who are going to be doing a whole lot more to get that fame than just causing a scene at the Starbucks. Prime example, the New Zealand shooter. I believe was it New Zealand? It was a couple of years ago, or maybe it hasn't been a couple. It might have only been a year. This year has been forever, so it feels like it was a couple of years ago. But there was a mass shooter. I believe it was the Christchurch shooting, and I think that was in New Zealand, where this young white man shot up a bunch of people, a lot of indigenous people, and he had a manifesto that he released to the media, and in it was like follow PewDiePie, some bullshit like that was in the manifesto. It was a bunch of meme material. And there are real people who lost their families, who lost their children, their parents, just really lost. And to get to the point where you're so thirsty and you're so desirable of being remembered by internet culture that you would put real people's lives at an end, that's a mental health sickness that absolutely needs to be addressed by society. And it's becoming the second pandemic. Yes, COVID is absolutely a pandemic, but this is another pandemic that's been setting up its seeds for a really long time, and we're almost to the breaking point here. We're to the point where it's going to be that more and more Do it for the Vine, do it for the gram, do it for the tube, do it for the Twitter sphere. All of that, it's not going to be a fun in joke. It is going to be a way of life for our people. And I'm not even going to say our young people, because the Karens are my age and they're out here with this foolishness. So we got to do something. Like, we've got to do something. We've got to speak out. We've got to start validating the people in our life. You know, so many times we reserve our compliments and our good words for when somebody does something extraordinary. So like, oh wow, you made an A, good for you. But you know what I like to do in my regular life, and this is going to sound super cheesy and corny, but it's something that I like to do all the time. I like to just give a random compliment to somebody for something that they do all the time, but maybe they didn't notice it was excellence. So for instance, there are times where I'll be in the grocery store and I'll be standing next to somebody. Well, not next to somebody, because, you know, social distancing, but I'll be near somebody, or they'll pass by me and I'll be like, oh, you smell really nice, because they have really nice perfume. Or if somebody just has like a really nice pair of shoes, I'm like, oh, those are really cute shoes you have on. Or, oh, I love your earrings. Or, you know, I'll say, you know, oh, that is such a cute little kid that you have there. Or I like to say smart. I do like to say that a lot to children. I'm like, wow, you are so smart. Because I think if we can give more validation to one another so that we're not seeking it in these platforms and in these really unhealthy ways, we can do society in general a favor. But it's a serotonin boost. Absolutely. It's hooked to endorphins and serotonin and all of the chemicals in our mind that tell us that we're experiencing happiness and joy. And this is coming from somebody who absolutely is not a psych major or anything of that. I graduated with a degree in business administration, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But there is a chemical rush that comes to mind when people are getting likes, retweets, views, when things go viral, and it's more than what is normally experienced on a daily basis, and it gets you chasing it. Just like how a drug high, that first drug high is something you've never had. So you spend all the rest of your time chasing that same big drug high. And the things that people do to try to get it, they're just harmful. They're harmful to the person seeking it. They're harmful to the person experiencing it. And K-pop is becoming one of those things. It's becoming this clout chase is for these endorphins and this serotonin. And that's how you get people speaking extremely out of pocket on K-pop Twitter, because they're looking for the validation. They're looking for their echo chamber to identify them and agree with them and send them kudos. I want to say it was maybe 2-3 weeks back, I talked about how someone went on Twitter and said that they had been outed to their Muslim parents that they were, I think, either bisexual or non-binary, something to that extent. And turns out that was fake. That person said that online to garner sympathy and clout points. Now, I have very strong opinions about doing shit like that. And if by saying doing shit like that gives you any indication, my strong feelings are negative strong feelings. But the fact that when people go online and they do reckless things to get attention, that they then take very real, very sympathetic situations and use that as an excuse to get themselves out of trouble for the bullshit that they've created, again, in the name of social media clout. It's not just demoralizing for those of us who want to support you and want to help you get through your tough times. It also makes this a much harsher landscape for the person who's telling the truth. For the person who has experienced really rough times, for the person who has made trigger warning attempts, you know, for the people who really are suffering out here, who feel like maybe they found a voice in kind, and to have their pain used as a get out of jail free card, fuck out of here. But that's the depths that we're going to now. Now, when people call you up on your racism and your bias from your past when you were chasing clout, now it's, but my mental health, and I was an abuse survivor, and I was this, that, and the other. Those two situations are mutually exclusive. Hey, Ren. A lot of us who are abuse survivors, have gone through mental health struggles, any of the like. Sorry, my eye was starting to irritate me. Any of us who have had really difficult times, at least in my experience, spend a lot of their time trying to not let what happened to them keep them from enjoying their life, to try to inform themselves when they see that they're falling into negative patterns, to try to be better than the experiences that they've lived through. And I'm not saying that that's everyone who survived a traumatic past, but constantly throwing up my trauma, my mental health, my state of well-being when you're called to the carpet for the bad things you do, are flat out just making up some bullshit to get out of trouble. What a world. What a world. Because then that person who's really struggling is not believed. And you're going to see people falling dead because they weren't believed when they needed to be believed, because so many clout chasers are looking for an excuse to have to not apologize for being the pieces of shit that they are. There are a lot of people out here that are full pieces of shit, and they're like, oh, but you know, it's not my fault. Somebody ate pizza earlier. It's exhausting, and it's tiring, and it's unproductive, and it's all of the negative adjectives and adverbs I can put out there. And I hate it. I really hate it. And this situation with Luna and, you know, trying to capitalize on the Jeffree Star drama, first of all, it's late. And secondly, again, not productive. And if anyone finds the root of this rumor and they find that one specific person or group of people who started it, I'm sure they're going to say, I'm being beat up and people are giving me death threats and it's not fair because it was just a joke between friends. And people are going to back up because they're going to be like, oh, they're just kids and it's wrong for people to send death threats and that's how I feel about that. If you don't like it, keep your fucking mouth shut. I'm not saying death threats are appropriate, but if you don't want backlash, maybe keep your mouth shut until you have something productive to say. I say a lot on my channel. Like I am hot take central. I am unpopular opinion central. I speak without a filter, without editing, for hours on end. You can go through my channel and it is nothing but me talking my shit. And I have to live in my shit when I talk it. And I have never used my mental health as an excuse for the things that I say. I've never said I should be left blameless because I experienced trauma as a young child. That's never the go-to for me. Part of it is maturity, you know, and that's not having to do with age. I'm talking about just like thinking like a mature person. Part of it is maturity, but the other part of it is those two things aren't connected. They never have been and they never will be. The shit I talk on my channel about K-pop or media or whatever else is going on, that comes from my mind and it comes from my feelings in that moment, but they're not generated from, and I was an abuse victim and therefore I have had this skewed way of thinking that I need attention from others. No, my opinions on this channel at every point in the game have been from me and have nothing to do with my mama, my daughter, my ex-husband, none of that. It's had everything to do with me. And so I don't know what the answer is to the question I'm asking about, like, what is the actual psychological root for this? What are the actual conditions that exist that cause this to be a pervasive part of our society? How do we prevent this to keep from happening? I can only give my one suggestion. Like I said, start giving more validation to the people in your life. like the people in your real life, the people that you interact with on a daily basis. Start spending a little bit more time giving them positive reinforcement so that they're not seeking those reinforcements on the internet, because it is getting out of control. And parents, especially parents of young people, we've got to start talking to our children more. And not just talking to them, talking with them. Because a lot of parents do downward conversation. A lot of like, here's the child, here's the parent. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. We got to do a lot more of this. And then we've got to open our ears and let them do a lot more of this as well. Because we're missing something. Communication is a two-way street. And we're missing something when we're not talking with our children and then listening to what they have to say. We're missing something when our children don't feel like they are being validated at home, or that home is a secure place to come when the world has hurt them. And I find more and more, I feel like some of the young people and even some of the older people who get online and act an ass, not saying that our traumas are to blame for everything that happens to us, but they have backgrounds where they weren't listened to, they weren't believed, they weren't communicated with fairly, they weren't given proper attention, and now here we are. So definitely, if you're a parent of a young child, spend more time listening to what your child has to say. Spend more time genuinely responding to the things that your child has to say. Spend more time being involved in their lives and, accepting that they're not going to be who you think that they should be, that they're not going to be carbon copies of you. And honestly, why would you want that? One of the things that I know that me as a young parent, like when my daughter was very young, said over and over, when people would say, oh, don't you just love babies? Don't you wish they would never grow up? I would always say, no. I can't wait for this little person to walk and talk and grow up, because I can't wait to meet the adult that my child becomes. Because I know what my relationship is with my mother, and my relationship with my mother is the strongest relationship I've had consistently throughout my entire life. She is my rock, and I've always hoped that my relationship with my child would be the same, that I could be her rock, and that I could be someone that no matter what the world throws at her, she knows that there's a comfort and there's a safe place here. But let me tell you, it has been challenging. We have had a lot of those conversations that are not great conversations. There have been some conversations where I'm like, I would rather not have heard that, but I got to put my listening ears on here and I got to hear what you have to say. And I think that it has paid off, because my daughter has been on social media for close to 4 years now, going on 5. And in that time in social media, we've had a lot of discussions about, not putting your information out there, not identifying where you live, that kind of stuff. But also like what it means when people react to you a certain way online. Thinking twice before you hit publish or send on the things that you put online. Not always believing everything that you see online, or like trying to approach what you hear rumor wise with some logic to see if that even really makes any fucking sense. And over the years, I think that a lot of those conversations and her being able to approach me with something that she saw that didn't look right to her, having the ability to have those conversations over and over again, and her know that I'm not going to judge her for the content that she's reading. I'm instead going to offer her insight as to maybe why this is not applicable to her, has paid off in spades. And while it has been tough to know that maybe she saw this online, or maybe she's been reading that online, at the same time, I'm so confident, and maybe it's a little bit braggadocious, I'm so confident that I am actively building my best friend. And that brings me peace over anything else going on in my life. Like, I never feel alone, because I'm in the process of building my best friend. And it brings me vast amounts of comfort to know that that is the case. And if she decides that I'm not her best friend when she gets older, that's cool by me. I'm fine with that as well, because people have to live their own lives, and I'll find new friends for sure, but she'll always be my original very best friend. You know, well, she'll be side by side with my mother. My mother's my original very best friend, but she'll be my number 2 original very best friend. And I just hope that that continues. But, you know, a lot of these people who are crying out for help online, they never had that. They never had that. And that's where we can contribute to society, is start being that for the people around us, so that they don't have to go out there and start rumors and do a bunch of random reckless shit in order to find validation. So anyway, thank you for watching, and again, thank you for putting up with this tragedy that's going on over here. I mean, it is a fright. But I have to say, it looked really good on my Zoom meeting, so I can't be mad at it. But in real life, this looks like dog hair, like straight up. This is synthetic, by the way. It's not human hair, because I would never, but this looks like some kind of exotic Pomeranian, or maybe some type of sheepdog or something. Like, this does not look at all like something that a human being would have on their head. So anyway, thank you guys for watching again. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for, you know, looking out for others. And I encourage you definitely to stay safe. Beware of what you're letting into your circle, and maybe just turn it off. Like, I've been in the habit of keeping my lives up, so never feel like I am going to take a nap. Mason, you caught me on the tail end of this. Never feel like you have to watch me when I'm live, because again, if I'm not doing copyrightable music, I'm keeping my live streams up. I have been consistently for weeks now. But yeah, if you need to take some time out of social media to get back to whole, to get centered, to ease your mind, just to clear things up for yourself, please feel free to do so. We all need a social media break. I mean, we feel kind of guilty because there's so much in the news that we'd like to keep a hold of and keep ever present and not let the heat off of. But if you find yourself kind of crumbling down because of the amount of social media information you're receiving, unplug, or at the very minimum, switch it over. Maybe get out of your Twitter app and open up a game or something else, because yeah, it's a lot. It is absolutely a lot. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. And Mason, I am about to take the other half of my Benadryl. Do not worry. I will be out very soon. So thank you guys so much. Bye.